So the team consists of 4 academic here and a couple of students as well. We were involved in that feasibility study, but the core team was myself, Mohammed Zaki from Cambridge, and Andy Neely from Cambridge University as well. From Manchester team was Philip Sfera, professor in University of Manchester, and Babis Theodolidis, which is senior lecturers in University of Manchester.
So the key aim of this project is to understand how companies are combining big data, new manufacturing strategies, and new relationships with users. So we were particularly focused to both understand the use of data in the manufacturing process, but also the various kinds of consumer and user-oriented data, from social media data, data from user interactions and various other sources, and see how different kinds of companies in consumer durable goods sectors were combining these together in interesting ways.
One thing, we came up with a proposed framework that could enable firms to discuss and stimulate some discussion about the concepts of redistributed manufacture. And the framework has 2 main dimensions. One comes from the operation and strategy aspect, which comes to the manufacturing configuration aspect. And here, what is the motivation to redistribute in the first place? And when we talk about redistribution, we talk about mainly 2 dimensions, which is the geographical aspects, which is where we should distribute our product. And the second important aspect here is the consumer aspect, right? Where our customers and what they want from us, and how we can feed that back to manufacturing.
We found companies are aware that they already have a lot of data on different aspects. They know that they have to upgrade and change their manufacturing. They know that they have to better interact with consumers. I think the challenge is how to marry these 3 components together. So we did see in some of the lead users quite clever ways in which they begin to do this. For example, consumer drinks companies collecting lots of information both on consumer tastes, but also changes in weather patterns that influence raw materials, changes in temperature to be able to predict when they should be making certain things, and also to feed that consumer information back into the process.
So the challenges here could be different ways. So one, you can consider soft challenges, which is related to the current strategy, like Phil was discussed, right? So how we can move or shift from the current business model to a different business model. That shift needs a lot of changes inside the organization, and also educating the customers, which is outside the organization. This is a perceived value. This is important for you. There is hard issues as well. At the moment, the data itself is quite fragmented in the manufacturing systems. It's an interesting phenomenon or paradigm that could be discussed for future kind of business model, which is allow firms speak the same language and think ahead how they could use that model for future business opportunities and future manufacturing purposes.
Well, I think one of the things which is next is for policymakers and leadership to begin to further realize the importance of strategies to combine new manufacturing data, user engagement, also involving supply chain. So the larger companies are already advancing in doing this, but I think that the opportunity is for intermediaries to work with smaller sized companies, both smaller companies in supply chains, smaller companies that work with the end markets. And certainly in things like the government's industrial strategy, there needs to be some specific attention as to how we can get effective public-private intermediaries in place that can particularly work with small and mid-sized companies.
We had a couple of as well publication out of the feasibility study, which is went one of them into a high under review basically for one of the big journal publication, which is we found it's interesting to frame our framework inside the edition, and hopefully a lot of academics could as well continue and build a lot of agenda for that specific research in the future.